This is Take a Cue episode 11, now available in video on Spotify.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to Take a Cue. I'm Erik Donough, 8th grade band and jazz band director.
And I'm Jen Wise, 4th and 5th grade instrumental music teacher.
We're two veteran educators with over 35 years of experience teaching music in New Jersey public schools between the two of us, and we're excited to bring teaching experiences and insights to you.
So excited. Whether you're just starting out in your teaching career or you've been teaching longer than we have, this show will help you grow with new ideas and perspective about music education and teaching.
We hope you'll be just as inspired as we are every time you listen. Before we begin, if you enjoy our podcast, please help us out by doing a few super easy things.
First, subscribe on your favorite podcast app.
Then make sure you rate the podcast 5 stars and leave a review.
It helps people find our show who haven't yet, and we really appreciate it.
If you find that you get a lot out of our episodes, we'd be grateful if you considered becoming a monthly supporter to help us grow the podcast.
You can sign up to make a secure monthly payment using the link in our show notes or on our Anchor site, anchor.fm/takeacue. That's all one word.
Also, if you have questions or comments about anything you hear on the episode, come and interact with us on social media. We're Take a Cue Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Jen.
Eric.
Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you.
It's been longer than we had anticipated the last time you and I spoke.
That's so true. Yeah, it's been a while.
How you feeling?
I'm okay. I'm pretty much rebounded back, except for some issues with my taste. So I had COVID, and I started having some symptoms on Thanksgiving after spending the day with my 91-year-old grandmother and my 2-year-old son and my husband and my immunocompromised mother. It's been a stressful couple of weeks. So,
Jen, I was so sorry that happened to you, especially at like the worst time of the year to have that happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
And, it's one of those like, shouldn't we get together? It's so daycare germs and everybody's sick, and I'm let's do it. And this is what happened. So it's been a roller coaster couple weeks. So yeah, and for me, being immunocompromised and everything, it's always just an extra layer of of stress. But I'm okay now.
Well, I'm glad it was relatively mild.
Yeah,
and that you were able to rebound so pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Now, we'll talk about this a little later in the episode, but the last time I had expected to see Jen and to talk to you was at the Livingston Public Schools Band Day.
Band Day. Oh my goodness.
Sadly, and we'll chat about it in a bit, but Jen, we had to do Band Day without Jen, and it just wasn't the same.
It just wasn't the same. It certainly wasn't the same for me either on the couch. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, I just want to take a moment. If you're listening to this on one of the many podcast apps, we're going to try doing this episode as a video podcast on Spotify, which will push out audio to everything else. But if you want to see what it looks like when we're doing this, we're going to try it as a video. And if you go to Spotify and it doesn't show the video, that's because this didn't work.
Okay.
We're going to try it.
We're giving it a shot. Yeah. And I decorated. I don't know if you see, if you're going to be able to see what's going on behind me. But
all the more reason to try this as a video podcast is to see Jen's decorations.
Yeah, I tried. I'm trying to be a little festive here.
Who's over your shoulder?
This is Mr. Snowman. He's been a part of our lives for a long time. He was my aunt's, and after she passed, he came home with me, and since Tom and I, have been living together and married and everything. Mr. Snowman is kind of our elf on the shelf. He travels around our house. Could be a couple times a day. He could end up in one spot for a couple days, but he's here for the shock and awe factor. So,
right on. I'm very shocked and awed.
Thank you. And he
awestruck.
And he'll end up like you'll open the shower curtain and he'll be there, or you'll go to get in bed and you'll think, it's your husband next to you, but lo and behold, it's Mr. Snowman under the covers. Listen, it's nothing like that. It's just a fun thing that we've done. We moved him around the house to kind of try and surprise each other. I'll sneak out in the cold in the morning and like put him in the passenger seat in Tom's car. So he'll get in the car and he'll be like, it's really
okay. So he also shows up to Tom in certain situations.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Got it.
So
he's not just following you around.
No. I have to say though, he was at my first couple concerts in my first teaching job. And so first 2 or 3 years, he came to my December concert. I had a table out front with the programs on it and Mr. Snowman and a poinsettia. It was cute, I
love it.
It was really fun. So then I didn't bring him to my in-school concert one year. And we got snowed out so many times that winter that my December concert ended up the first week of February. So like Mr. Snowman had to come to all of my concerts.
I was going to say, I don't think that's a coincidence.
It's not at all. He controls the snow in Ringwood, New Jersey. And guess what, bud? They have a delayed opening tomorrow. So yeah.
Oh, in Ringwood. Oh my gosh.
They do. I mean,
that's wild.
Somebody sneezes on Skyline Drive at noon the day before and they have a delayed opening. So
Skyline Drive. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're going to be sleeping in tomorrow, but yeah, Mr. Snowman, he controls the weather for concerts. So, I keep him happy. Giant candy canes and all is well. That's Mr. Snowman's story. So I know it's a little much.
So what's been going on outside of school the last few weeks? It's been a while. The last time we chatted, CJ was here with us.
I know. And that was so much fun.
And that was our last Freestyle Friday, I should say.
Yes,
and then after that, we got to chat with Carol Britton Chambers, which was an awesome episode.
And she was delightful. Yeah.
Yeah. If you missed it, you got to go back and check out episode 10 for Carol and episode 9 with CJ. She's kind of our college liaison.
Yes.
Yeah. She's going to be back on with us from time to time, just talking about her experiences in music ed program. But what's been going on with you outside of school?
Recovering, keeping my son TJ healthy. He got hit pretty hard with something. He got tested for everything under the sun, but we don't know what it is. He went to the ER and got one of those tests where they test for like flu and RSV, and they were like, "Yep, negative for everything." And they're like, "Maybe it's something new." And I'm like, "Oh, that's fun," So, but yeah, he's on the mend. But that was a tough couple weeks.
So that's been taking most of your time.
It really has, like just getting well, getting healthy, and trying to save energy for just the day, reconnecting with my students. They had a big experience with band day, and, just getting to hear all that, has been pretty cool during school. But, no, just getting ready for the holidays and doing a little bit of shopping and, so it's been a lot of that. Yeah. I gotta say, it's been like, I've had a little bit of anxiety, if our listeners want to know, about getting back to it. The third time you end up with this thing that comes out of nowhere and you don't expect it, and you already have so many health issues. Like, I'm having a little bit of anxiety getting back to it. And again, that question, shouldn't we get ready for the holidays? But I wore my mask all day with family. I didn't want to be the one, that brings anything to anybody. But, having a lowered immune system, you end up being the canary in the coal mine sometimes. Yeah. So I just didn't want to be that person today. So slowly but surely, I'm sure we'll get back to it. So,
all right.
Yeah. But that's what we've been up to. How about you? Any holiday gigs? Any playing?
Yes.
What have you been up to?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, you must have looked at my notes ahead of time.
I peeked. I didn't want to spoil any surprises.
This has been the month of craziness, and I'm not sure that anybody out there would be surprised to know about that. We have not been sidelined due to illness, thank goodness, at least for December. We'll hopefully continue that, but who knows what January brings.
Yeah.
But yeah, our sax quartet had our annual Christmas gig at one of the churches up here. And that is one of our favorite places to play because it's a really nice little sanctuary and they always pack it, and very appreciative congregation. So when I was younger and had more time, we used to play like 8 to 9 concerts in December alone.
Sure.
Just from church to libraries to other civic centers. And yeah, it was big. We once played in downtown Philadelphia. I remember getting to the end of like some Christmas carol. I don't remember what it was. And we stopped and we played the big long last note. And then we stopped and we heard it just echo off the buildings. And it was
that's
wild.
Fun. That's cool.
They have like a big German Christmas fair there in Philadelphia. At least they did. I don't know if they still do. But that was fun. But now we're just down to one Christmas gig a year. And we have a few others sprinkled throughout the year. And, that's okay. We're all kind of like doing our own adult things now. We have families, and our alto player, Deanna, just took over the marching band at her high school. So, dear Lord, she has no time.
Oh my goodness.
And John is the supervisor of music. So he's got 4 times the concerts he used to have as a high school band director. And so James just had his second child, and I think I'm the one with the most time. I don't know how that happened. But yes, we did that. Oh my gosh. I sing in my church choir here in Madison, and we've ramped up the music that we're singing, and there is just a lot of music. We've got this Advent Evensong coming up. Maggie and Kate are singing in the little children's choirs. There's so much music this
That's
month,
so nice.
which is great. And at the same time also can be a little exhausting.
That's a lot. Yeah. I mean, I sent an email just before Thanksgiving, just before, I stopped seeing my students for a week or two. And I was like, here's our schedule for December and January, enjoy the time with your family. I said something pleasant about, the taking the break. And I said, please encourage your child to like share what they've been working on with you. The holidays are a really special time for a musician to be a musician, and your child just joined that club. So,
oh, I love that. I'm going to totally say that to my kids now.
Isn't that sweet? And I say, while you're gathering with family, encourage your child to share what they've been working on. I'll tell you what, I got more feedback on that email than that mass email than I have on a lot of the things I've sent out that I felt had more substance this year. I got just some really nice videos of kids like playing for their families over Thanksgiving. I thought that was really sweet, so it really is a special time of year to be a musician, and we have so many great opportunities to just celebrate and get out there and share and enjoy what we do.
Thank you for putting that in such a positive light.
Well, hey, we've all had the grind. Oh my gosh, the concert grind, and yeah, Tom and I are looking at 2 weeks of just all the way to New Year's Eve, gigs and concerts. And for him, this is a pretty light year for me, but that's okay. Okay. So
no big Christmas flute gigs coming up.
Not really. I kind of sort of gave up, my chair in New Jersey Wind Symphony when I was pregnant and everything. So, and then I thought I'd go back. And it's really hard to be out for that much time and that much rehearsal. And now I live 40 minutes away, not 20 or 25, but they had their concert and Tuba Christmas on Friday night. And I saw all the posts on Facebook and social media. And I was like, oh man, I love that night. And next year TJ will be old enough to stay up late and go, and, we'll get to enjoy it together, and that'll be its own experience for all of us. So yeah.
We've got one here in Morristown, and I have yet to go. I'm a little ashamed.
I know. I haven't
they've done
been
this
to
now
the
for 5 or 6 years, and it's literally around the corner from my house.
Yeah.
And I've not been there yet. And I feel a little sad that has not happened yet. But it seems like every year it's on a day where there's something else planned.
Right.
And it just didn't work out.
All right. We'll have to make a pact. Take a cue, listeners. We're all going to the Morristown Tuba Christmas next year. Put it in the calendar, and we're all going.
Yes, from all over the country. You all need to fly in.
Listen, if you don't have one in your neighborhood, man, it's an event. It's a thing. So
yeah, and you don't feel like going all the way to New York. It's a little too overwhelming. The Morristown is a nice sort of scaled back one from New York. What else is going on? Anything else? Anything else outside of the school stuff?
I wish I could say. Oh well, this week I have another like my MS treatment infusion. Like I said, my health has really just been like the thing the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, it's like my once every 6 months, I go into the city, I go to Mount Sinai, and I have an all day infusion. They hook me up, and and then it wipes out, all my B cells, and it takes about like 10 days to 2 weeks to really like be effective and settle in. And then I'm good for 6 months. So I feel kind of weird, kind of crummy for that amount of time. And then I kind of can get back up to my normal everything. So I'm doing that this week.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. I know it's something that you do regularly, and it's not really all that out of the ordinary for you to do, but then you got to deal with the recovery time and all that. So.
Right. And oh my gosh, I was out, 2 weeks ago and missed a day with my Tuesday kids. And, and then all of a sudden I have this, like, it's one of those appointments. I'm sure we all make them that you make 6 months ahead, and you just can't, you can't move it. You can't miss it. You have to keep it on the calendar no matter what else happens.
It's definitely a real concern when you have to miss your students who you don't see every day.
Right.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
But you know what? As far as I'm concerned, family comes first, and your health, your own health comes first.
Yeah. And like, I say this all the time, like if I can't, function, I can't help anybody. So I have to do it now before, like, if I pushed it off, I know how tough the winter can get without sunlight and all the extra vitamin D. I end up hitting a little bit of a low every year. So I have to do it now before all that. It's been tricky. It's tough. There's no like best practice for when you're out of school. Like there's sub plans, but I don't get a sub, right? Like I don't get a sub because when I'm not there, my lessons are just canceled.
Yep. Same here.
So I feel like we should have a conversation, because whether or not what I do is best practice, like it's what I do. And it's kind of, we'll find out, like I said, in January, if it's working for my kids, because, we'll see how they do on their performance. They still seem fairly motivated, and they still seem kind of interested in what they're doing, even though I'm not in front of them all the time. So yeah, maybe we should chat, a little bit today about what I do when I'm not there.
Well, why not right now?
Right now? Okay, let's dive in. What do I do? So I've been making sure that when we leave each other every week, and this is a best practice, but like it's so important for me right now. I make sure that when we leave each other every week, we have a very clear goal for what next week is going to look like measure numbers. Like next week, we're going to make sure we can run through measure 41 to 54 in this piece, and it's got to be right on.
No, this is for your full band.
This is for my
full ensemble.
Full ensemble, yeah. Okay. Because there were a couple weeks where I ended up like going in, and there were a couple days I went in and I didn't get to see everybody for lessons because I just had to take a half day. I was just too fatigued with the COVID and everything. So I'd see them for rehearsal before school. I'd do a few lessons in the morning and be like, I got nothing, like I'm done. So I would just make sure that at the end of our rehearsal, we'd say like, okay, lessons today, this is what we're working on. At home this week, this is what you're working on, because next week we will play it in rehearsal, and it's got to happen this week, and it's been working. We mark it in our music. We put a little bracket around it and the date. I feel like that time in full band has been really valuable. And then I put it in an email. So all my 4th and 5th graders have emails now. Okay. I put it in an email to them, and I copy their parents, blind copy their parents, and I post it in the Google Classroom. So they're getting me from all sides, and I've been doing a lot better this year engaging. I feel like they're engaging their parents. And I feel like practice habits have been better so that they are getting that time on the instrument, even if I'm not in front of them.
Yeah. When your time is so infrequent together, that kind of stuff is so important.
Practicing is important, but I know not every kid is going to practice, but I do expect every kid to love what they're doing. So like, I haven't pushed it like I've been, doing this year, but, I feel like practice habits are better. I haven't found those students yet that are like, oh, I'm not good enough yet. I don't know. We'll see if this kind of pressure is good or if it's turned some students off. I don't know. We'll find out. It's tough when you have an elective, and we all feel this sometimes. Accountability can, I hate to say it, like, can be a dirty word once in a while when you're teaching a subject that's optional and they can come in or out at any time. And that's,
Sure.
that's kind of the way it is. I try and push everybody to make it to the performances or the end of the year or spring break, or, we come up with these goals.
It sounds a lot like I do a similar thing with my group, but
Mhm.
it's reversed. It's more for the lessons and
Okay.
less for the concert band. We meet
Okay.
twice a week,
Mhm.
or actually every other day. So
Okay.
sometimes we meet 3 times a week. Sometimes it's 2 times a week. So in band, at the end of the rehearsal, or actually on the, for the entire rehearsal plan, they'll see, okay, what are we doing next time? But
Mhm.
it's usually just a particular piece. And I don't have a specific section marked for
Mhm.
them, because it often depends on, okay, well, what did we do Monday? How did that work?
Right.
Again, I'm going to make Wednesday's plan based on what we did Monday.
Right.
But, I have that time when I see them every other day. But on lessons, I only see them once a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give them a very specific, you always sight read a page in the book or so, or a half a page in the book,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever ends up needing to be done.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, okay, well, here's now we sight read it. Here's exactly what I'm going to listen to for next week. And, and then I'll put it in I have a big document that has every lesson's lesson plans laid out in it, who was there, what we worked on, what
Yeah.
the assignment is, how we warmed up. And then it'll be shared for them to have. But
Mhm.
yeah, it sounds a lot like what we do for lessons, because if I miss a day of school, those kids now don't have lessons for 2 weeks. But I do see them for band. Yeah.
Right.
So if you're seeing them once a week for lessons, once a week for band,
Mm-hmm.
that's huge. They need that detail.
Totally. And yeah, so because we're once a week for band and once a week for lessons, and it's on the same day. So if I lose a day, I'm losing a whole week of both.
Yep.
with them.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. I've always done this, but it's way more important now. Like, I leave my desk as if I was never coming back and somebody else needed to just pick up and run. And I it's the funny thing is, I did not do that on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I looked at my desk, I looked at my scores in a pile on my stand, completely out of order and a mess. And I said to myself, oh, I'm putting in a little extra time on Monday because Tuesday when we come back is band day, and I need to get myself organized for band day, and my head's just not there. I'm thinking turkey. I'll deal with it on Monday. And then lo and behold, I got COVID. So,
Oh man.
So yeah, but that's the other thing I do is, like, I have my scores and folders sorted by ensemble and the order that we're going to rehearse them in, and the same, parts that the kids have bracketed. I have a post-it on top of my score because, I'm a lot of people maybe can relate, but after 15 years, I have like a goldfish brain when it comes to remembering where we were and what we were doing. I have to have it written down. You end up doing a piece a couple of times in your career, and you're like, oh, did we work on that for Body yet? I don't remember. And I'm still kicking myself for not doing that. So before we left the week before band day, I've been using Google Classroom a lot, posting pictures and videos just in lieu of a lesson, like, hey, flutes, check yourself in a mirror, check this, the angle of your flute. I've been using a lot of the videos from the Harmony Band with my beginner reed players, because there's some really good things about tonguing and shaping your embouchure and everything. So I've been posting those and saying, hey, watch this as you practice measure XYZ, and I'll send an email to just the clarinets, and that's been kind of cool. Yeah, I've been doing those things to kind of make sure that we're all engaged still and moving forward. But man, it's tough to keep everybody going, especially when you're not 100% yourself. I have to say though, at least they had band day that happened while I was out, because they had something, to drive them forward. I feel like we keep hinting at it, but we should really talk about band day.
Let's do it. Band day.
Band day. Dun, dun, dun.
The best controlled chaos of the year. When the kids all came in, they all came into the auditorium first. The elementary and high school kids were there in the auditorium.
Okay.
The middle school kids weren't there yet.
6 elementary schools.
Wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
Yep. Six elementary schools.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in the auditorium with the high schoolers. And I said, well, welcome to Heritage. This is my favorite day. It's better than Christmas. It's better than birthday. It is my favorite day. And they just were like,
nice.
I'm not necessarily kidding either.
Okay.
I really do love Band Day.
I do too.
Probably more than I should.
Yeah. No, it's a great day. It's really fun. There's a great vibe there.
First, well, I invited them, I welcomed them to the Heritage, and kind of just gave them the lay of the land, like where are the bathrooms? Where are the exits? What do we do if we have a fire drill or a lockdown while everybody is here in the auditorium or things like that, because they've never been here. To prepare, we put tons of signs up all around the part of the building where the music department is, so kids could know where the band room was, the orchestra room, the auditorium, the bathroom, with arrows and everything. So it was really helpful for them to just be like, okay, you need to go to the bathroom, follow the signs to the bathroom.
Oh, that's good.
It worked really well. We had 346 students total that joined us that day. It was grades 5, 6, 8. And then we have the 9 through 12 wind ensemble, which is the audition only group. There's 3 bands at the high school, and that's the audition only one, about 40 kids there. But we broke them off into the rooms based on who their director is, because each director has 2 elementary schools in Livingston. Your group, being the largest, was on the stage in the auditorium. Nicely done.
Yeah, thank you. So
nicely done.
That's so good. I'm so sad I missed that. I really wanted to hear like all my students together and see them all together, and that's like a big deal. Like, and
for our listeners who may not know this is the first and probably only time that your kids are going to play together before they get to middle school. But I really, it's a pretty cool moment to hear them all, in one place at the same time. And so they were in 3 different locations, by a director. And then what did we do? Brendan, the 7th grade director, and Jenny, the 6th grade director, and I each took a room and worked with the kids for about 20 minutes. I worked on the breathing gym with them, and then heard them play a little bit and offered some suggestions about their music, about like dynamic contrast. Or I remember your particular group, I was like trying to get the low brass and low woodwinds really excited, and, be like, you guys are rock stars. You never get the melody. Yes. And then everybody else has to remember this is their like 2 moments of fame. You have to get out of the way, because just trying to build up your low brass and low woodwinds as much as possible.
Oh, that's good. They did come back, and I was like, guys, I didn't hear a ton yet about Band Day from the other band directors, but I said to my low brassers, because I happen to have them all in one lesson group at one of my schools, I said, but I heard a lot about you. I heard that you made a great sound, and that you, so I told them that you mentioned, how they, you were pumping them up, and they were like, Mr. D said we had the melody. I'm like, yeah, you do, man. Like
for those 2 measures,
measures where the sun will shine on you. It's cute. They remembered that moment too. So
that's good. But then we rotated through. So then like I went over to Brian's kids, one of the other elementary teachers. And then, Brendan came and worked with your guys, and Jenny went over to Jim's. And then we kind of just rotated 3 different like 20-minute periods with each group. And I did the same thing with all of them. I kind of worked with breathing gym stuff, and then worked on their concert band music. And I think Brendan worked on, I don't really know what he worked on. Honestly, it doesn't really matter.
Right. They get to meet you, and
exactly. The point is not what we worked on. The point is to get them excited and be giant cheerleaders for band. And then the 6th grade students came over while we were doing that, and sort of, took attendance and did all that. And then we brought everybody into the auditorium at once. So the wind ensemble was on the stage. The 8th graders are in the auditorium, the 6th graders in the auditorium, and all of the 5th graders in the auditorium together. And then Brendan and I told them a little bit about the program at Heritage, but then it became sort of like Mike at the high school. It became his show. Did you hear any reports about the high school?
I did. I heard
from your kiddos?
I heard that they played the Polar Express.
Oh, they did.
And I heard that it was fantastic. They were like floored. They were like, the high school was so good. They were like, it was. They were like, it sounded just like the movie. They were floored to hear the high school band.
Mike even turns around with a train whistle at one point.
Oh, really? That's sweet.
To the audience and plays it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you should have seen the kids, and the stodgy classical musician in me.
Sure.
It's like everybody in the audience needs to be quiet and attentive.
Right.
But they were so excited about the Polar Express. Like when it sounded like the train part came, like,
yeah.
They started going like this in the stands.
Like bouncing.
If you're watching, you can see my impression of it. But like imagine 350 kids all doing that.
Just like bouncing along like they're on a train. That's so
It was
sweet.
wild. It was chaos. But you know what? Like I said, the stodgy, classical musician me was like, everybody needs to be still and listen. But the band director me was like, yeah, so much excitement for band.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's great. And I also heard that they got to go on a bus. That was a big moment. So we haven't taken many field trips since COVID. So they got to go.
Do most of the kids not take the bus? I don't
No, I mean, they got to go on a bus back to their school. So not really. No, some of them didn't get a field trip last year. So
very
this
exciting.
this is a big deal. It was a big move.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then after that big performance was done and your elementary kids started going back to their schools, the 6th grade took the stage. And my 8th graders took the band room, and the high school kids that were there, 40 of them, split 20 and 20 in each group.
Cool.
And kind of sat in amongst the children. Oh, and I should have mentioned that before. The high schoolers sat in amongst the elementary school kids as well.
Yeah. They had some stuff to say about that too. They were like, whoa, they could play it all. They could play everything just looking at it. And I was like, yeah, man, that's what they, you'll get there. Like a couple years, that's going to be you. I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, so then we had the 2 middle schools doing basically the same clinic idea. Mike came and worked with both groups, and Brendan worked with both groups, which is kind of fun for him because Brendan working with my kids, it's
that
like the kids that he had
year.
last year.
Sure,
exactly. So he gets to come and kind of work on a piece, and he worked on Quad City Stomp, one of the Michael Sweeney's.
Oh, nice.
Which he started with them last year.
Okay, all right.
And I was like, please don't say the same things that you said last year. Please let them have progressed.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And now at this point, Brendan has had all the high school kids too. He's all of his, he's had all the kids that have gone through up to 12th grade now. So all the kids that came back from the Wind Ensemble, he had back in 7th grade too.
Wow. All right. That's huge. That's a big deal. I think my students are only freshmen, maybe sophomores at this point. So yeah, the wise wave is coming. So just kidding. I'm trying to rebrand it a little bit. We'll see how it goes. But no, that sounds like an awesome day. And like for my students, the general music teachers took them. So if any of you out there ever find yourself in a position where it's like, cancel the field trip, move the field trip, or send the general music teachers who know every kid's name in the school because they teach them all, do that because they were phenomenal and they had a great time with them that day. And I thank them so much for making it happen and keeping it, moving forward. But that was the way to go.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was going to say, I mean, first off, they rocked. Like your colleagues were awesome.
Oh my gosh.
They came in, got those kids settled, got them in line, got the attendance done, got them up on stage by section. Like they were killing it.
Cool.
But I didn't think about how like they've never experienced band day.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I sent a very like Jen email ahead of time.
Oh yes, you did. Which I read after band day.
I had a feeling that was going to happen. I
didn't even get a chance to read it.
I know. Cause I sent it. I spent the day in the ER with TJ. I didn't get to send it out until like 8 PM. And it is what it is, but I wouldn't have been able to sleep if I didn't send out like every detail.
Yeah, they got it.
They got it. They're awesome.
They were true pros. But it was a great day. Band day was killer. It's always one of my favorite days. And I'm so glad we got to go back to doing it in person.
Yeah.
Over COVID, we kind of did it like via video. And then we had like where we made a video, but the directors came down and worked with your kids, which is great. We got a chance to meet them and we did the best we could given the constraints we had, but really getting the kids together is so important. And I'm really glad we were able to do that again this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I'm glad you guys got to host. It sounds like that worked out really nicely. And
The nice thing about doing it at Heritage is that we are able to do it all in one wing of the building.
mm-hmm.
In Mount Pleasant, when we've done it there, the kids are spread out more
That's right.
around the building, which makes it a little tougher to kind of, quickly go from spot to spot or, all that stuff. There's a lot of travel time that needs to be taken into consideration there. So it was nice to just kind of do it where we were.
Well, you have concerts. You have concerts coming up, right? Like yours are early January, or
yeah, ours are like the second week of January, right. And I think that the 8th graders are really starting to step it up. We're doing some longer runs to sort of build some stamina instead of doing chunks. That we do plenty of chunks. The kids will tell you like they just want to play.
Yeah,
but we do a lot of like chunking because they're at the point now where they're really beyond like wrong notes, and most of the time are beyond wrong notes, and their rhythms are solid. And now we're really getting into like, how are we going to phrase this? Where are we going to breathe? How, we need to really make bigger dynamic contrast here. So we'll work on little chunks, and that's a good thing. But I tried to explain to them, like, this is what being a musician is.
Right.
It's about taking tiny, tiny moments in time and just working a lot on them.
Yeah. Making the most out of it.
But they're really starting to finally like come together. They sound better. They're really like working together as a group. Even their tuning is better. And we haven't even really worked much on tuning in rehearsals yet. But I do more of that tuning in the second half of the year once they finally like figured out how to play together in 8th grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to do, and just we have rehearsals every other day, but they're 42 minutes. So
right.
We don't have a ton of time in each rehearsal to really dive deep.
Yeah.
So, picking one or two things to focus on in rehearsals, the one thing that like I'm still working on with them is retaining what we work on in rehearsals. And I'm sure every band director has that same thing where they're like, okay, we are going to make sure that we do not breathe before measure 31.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody take your pencils, not your air pencils, your real pencils.
Real pencils, right.
And I want you to mark it in your parts. And I'll wait. And I see them get their pencils out and they mark it in their parts. And then we have a great big crescendo with no breath. And then the next time we do it 4 times.
Right. Oh yeah.
And the next time we get together, half the group breathes.
Yeah, you could drive a Mack truck through that hole and like that's it, Oh, I get
And
you.
if any of my students are listening, they know exactly the breath I'm talking about, because that actually is a breath that we have worked on 10 times.
That's so funny. Yep. I'm sure. Oh man.
But I'm excited about the concert. I really like the winter concert. There's a lot of good energy.
Do you guys do jazz band on your winter concert?
We do.
Okay.
We do our jazz bands. We have 2 jazz bands. We have a lab band and a more advanced band. And I haven't really heard Brendan's band much. They rehearse on Wednesdays after school. I've walked in and they were sounding good. I haven't heard them play a ton. But I feel like this past week my jazz band finally kind of got it together. And
cool.
Finally have like a decent sound. It's just about the confidence too. Middle school lead trumpet players, unless they really know jazz and like are really trained in that, even if they take private lessons, they're not really always the most confident in really pushing out and sort of leading the group. Sure. I always tell my first trumpet players that they are the lead of the leads, and that even though alto 1 is the lead alto and trombone 1 is the lead trombone, I always tell trumpet 1 is like the lead of everybody. So you really have to be confident and play out and really wail when it's time for everybody to play. And that's just been tough to get, to get those kids to really put the air through.
Sure. Yeah.
But they're getting there. They're starting to get it.
Good.
What about you? When's your concert this year? I forget.
I have one like January 30th and the others like February 6th. So they're very late this year.
Really late.
Yeah, they're very late. The one that got pushed into February, I was like, oh, wow. But that also happens to be the band that I rehearse on Fridays. So like you were saying, like, oh, a pep rally this week and a kindergarten buddy activity this week. And I'm pretty glad to have the extra week and a half with them.
Oh, that's good. I was going to ask what your thoughts were on that. If you felt like it was too much time and the kids are like, going to be bored of the music or whatever.
If I didn't see them on Fridays, I probably would feel that way. But I think we're gonna hit the sweet spot for them. Next week, like all my 4th graders, all my beginning groups, like we said in our small ensemble episode, we're going to start picking our section song that we're going to do at the concert. So I'll come to them with like 3 options, usually 2 or 3 or maybe 4 options for things that I've done with like that instrument before. I'll play it for them. We'll try and sight read some, and they'll kind of as a group decide, okay, that's our song. That's what we want to spend the next month really like getting good at and preparing for the concert. So that should be my beginner lessons next week. So that's what we're up to.
All right.
Yeah, and I know it sounds early, like
exciting times.
Yeah, it does feel a little early to do it, like last week of February. But rumor has it, since winter break is short this year, since we're doing a half day in our district on the 23rd. The rumor is that certain kids are going to go away that last week, and just attendance is going to be low that last week. I just word on the street. So I want to
extended vacation.
I just want to make sure that everybody gets time with me on their section song before they leave for break. Because who knows? I mean, it snows on a Monday in January, and we have another one off for Martin Luther King. And then all of a sudden I see my Monday kids twice before their concert in January. So like I'm doing the math, and I'm like, okay, this is the week we got to pick our song. So, and then at least they have it. At least they have it to work on at home, and they've had one lesson with me on it before things get crazy.
And how are the 5th graders coming along? Are they going to be ready?
Yeah, they will be ready.
They're going to be ready.
They will be ready. They will. And there's the percussion section in both of my bands. I feel like it's finally coming together. We hit a wall in the last week. Like, no, I really do expect you to know that part I assigned you 2 weeks ago. It's like, it's just, I had a lot of that.
How dare you?
That face. I know. I had a lot of that face going on. And with both groups, I kind of put my foot down and said, like, this is like, you're part of, like, in the beginning of the year, we've probably talked about this, but I rotate them through all the instruments so that to make sure like they get a chance to play a little of everything. And then once I assign the parts, like, it still doesn't really hit home that like, okay, this is the one, like, this is the thing you have to practice. And we're relying on you to play that bass drum part. Nobody else is going to play that bass drum part. Now it's yours. Make it yours. So like, I think that we had that talk, like last week when I came back, and now, the lesson after that rehearsal was like very focused. So I think we get it now. I think we get that that's the new goal.
They're still young, they're not.
No.
Yes, they had a concert in 4th grade,
right?
But it's still like, here the expectations are still, by the time they're in 8th grade, they've had 1, 2, 3, probably, 7 concerts. So they kind of understand what it takes to be ready for that concert. Yeah. But in 5th grade, this is only their 2nd concert they've ever had.
Right.
So some of them need that gentle or not so gentle reminder.
Right. They're there. So
speaking of percussion, I just wanted to share with you that the first marking period is finished, and cycling back to our chamber music episode, which I believe was episode 8. If our listeners haven't taken a listen to that one yet, they might want to check it out. The percussion ensemble gave their first ever, as long as I've been there, first ever percussion ensemble performance.
Cool.
At the end of the marking period, which was pretty fun.
Nice.
We had a piece, it was out of the book 1 Excellence in Chamber Music book, just book 1 for percussion. I do book 2 with everybody else, but book 1 is good for percussion because the mallet level is probably a little more appropriate for some of my 8th graders, because as much as I would love to think that they are at the same level of snare drum as they are at mallets, it just, for some of them, they just aren't. And so I'd rather put together a piece that they can really go and dig into as an ensemble. So we played a piece out of that piece called Samba Lele.
Okay.
And has a whole bunch of auxiliary percussion and, snare drum, bass drum, and it's got 3 mallet parts. And we put it on stage in front of the rest of the band and half of the chorus, half of the 8th grade chorus. So there were probably about 100 kids in the audience. And they got up on stage and they played, and it sounded really good. I was very impressed with them. And I told them this really was, I've had other percussion ensemble cycles, like the small ensemble cycle class, but I've never had them do a performance before. So this was the first time for me, and they nailed it.
Oh, that's so great. Yay.
I really lucked out. This year's percussion section in 8th grade, they're readers, and they have their preferences as far as drums versus mallets, but most of them can play at a fairly decent level on mallets. All of them have mallet experience.
Yeah.
And most of them are comfortable enough to play mallets in the band. And so that's great. And they're good kids too.
I can think of a few students that I had that are in your percussion section right now, and I'm like, oh yeah, those are good eggs.
And in the small ensemble cycle now, I've got flutes, oboes, and clarinets together. So it's not all that small. It's actually half the band. It's 25 kids.
Wow. Yeah.
It was either put the clarinets with the saxes or keep them with the flutes, and I think it just works better keeping them with the flutes. And we have one oboist, so he's in there too.
Okay.
And we just started our trios, our student-led trios, and now they're all like picking out the trios they want to do and starting to learn how to play together. And it's really fun. It's really fun to put them together. I assign the trios based, at least for this part of the assignment, I assign the trios with the same instrumentation. So I don't have clarinets with flutes yet.
Yeah.
Just have flutes together, clarinets together. I have one group with flute and oboe together.
Yeah.
And I try to group them based on level.
Okay.
So that if we have a couple students who are taking private lessons, that I'm going to put them together so they can work something together where they're, working at the same speed.
Yeah.
And maybe some students who might need to go a little bit more slowly, I'll put them together too, so they can find something that maybe is a little technically not as demanding in the book, so that they can really focus on just, getting confidence in playing.
Yeah. I bet they love that. Like getting to try all that new rep and play with somebody new. And yeah, that's so cool.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It works well if it happens to be like 2 friends that get put together or 3 friends that get put together. Yeah. But sometimes it's kids who don't really socialize with each other. And it takes them a little while just to be able to talk to each other.
Okay. All right.
It's middle school. So we're going to try a new segment here on our show. And we're just going to take a couple minutes and discuss, for those people who may not be band directors, you may not be aware that there is a giant Facebook group, actually a couple Facebook groups for band directors out there, which are private. And you basically have to be a band director to be in them. But there's some really interesting questions and problems and concerns that are posted there with people genuinely looking for advice.
Yeah.
And, sometimes it's just funny posts too, or other things. But so we thought we'd kind of pick out a post that sort of jumped out to us as something maybe we could chat about on the podcast for a little bit. Now, we're not going to name names.
No.
We're not going to read the post verbatim.
Nope.
But we're going to sort of summarize it and see, what our thoughts are on it too. So the one that I picked out this week is about parents leaving concerts early, leaving once their child is done performing, leaving, and then leaving the last group on the concert with a very small audience.
Yeah.
Have you ever run into this, Jen? We all have, one-off situations where a kid has to get to a practice of some sort or whatever, but I'm just talking about just people leaving.
Oh, well, I've never really set up a concert where that's an option. I park the kids in the audience to watch the rest of the just file them off, file them right on, and once in a while I've had a couple parents try and intercept in the hallway and just kind of grab their kid. And I said, oh, sorry, no, this is the rest of the concert. And when I used to give a grade for band, it was pretty clear in the literature I gave out that you were responsible for the entire night. You're expected to be there. We're going to be talking about the rest of the performing groups in class tomorrow. You're going to need to contribute and write a reflection. And,
I like that. Yeah. I like that. That's a great thought for a director who's having an issue with people doing that. Say, hey, your child this is part of the class that they're going to need to hear the rest of the concert in order to complete their work in this class. Wow. That's a great thought.
Yeah. And right now, most of our students that are in the band or in the orchestra are also in chorus. Most of them do both, and we put chorus at the end of the program. The biggest,
the largest group,
largest group going on last is always a good idea for logistics and for reasons like this. But I do a concert reflection after, like the next day. I actually do like a whole stations lesson the day after the concert, because like I need that break. I need them to kind of direct themselves after the concert. But one of the stations is a reflection, and it says like, what was the best piece you heard on the concert? It might not be from the group you performed in. What was, what piece do you think reached the audience the best? It doesn't necessarily need to be the group that you performed it, and like questions like that really get the kids talking and reflecting and thinking about like, why did our audience like We Will Rock You? Why did the audience like that the best, and not that folk song that the fourth grade did? It's like we talk about it, and I feel like that's a nice way to keep everybody in their seats. What are your thoughts?
Well, something that I found worked in previous districts, and I did respond to this person on one of the Facebook groups and just kind of let them know my thought about it. I don't do this now because I don't have to. I'm fortunate enough not to have to do it. But one thing that we started doing was a big grand finale with like every kid that's in the concert all involved at the very end. And you make it a big spectacular thing. You hype it up so that nobody wants to be missing that.
Right.
And, and I think that's a great way to do it. It does require a lot of logistical planning, I'm sure, for some schools and some folks. That may be literally every music child in the school, maybe at this concert, like yours. So that's a lot. That's a lot to do, but it does work. Right. It does work. What we do at Heritage now, one thing that I think helps us is we keep the concerts short. Okay. Our concerts are usually about an hour, give or take 5 minutes.
We try that too.
And our concerts do start at 7, so they don't go ridiculously late. And one of the other things that Brendan and I do is we sort of rotate. We start with the 8th grade concert band and on the stage, and the jazz band's set up in front of the stage in the pit of the auditorium. So we have the jazz band set up in the front. The 7th graders sit in the jazz band seats that are in jazz band. The jazz band 7th graders sit in the jazz band seats. The 8th grade performs. The 8th grade exits the stage, goes to the auditorium to sit in the seats. The 7th grade concert band goes up on stage. 7th grade band plays while the 8th grade jazz band kids go down to the pit. After the 7th grade 7th grade concert band plays, the 7th grade jazz bands go down to the pit. So now everybody's in the auditorium. 7th graders are on stage. 8th graders are in the seats, and the jazz band plays.
Cool.
And usually, we're done by 8. And, occasionally, we've had a parent email ahead of time and say, hey, my kid's got this dance class thing. Is it okay if I take them early? Sure.
Yeah.
It's an extenuating circumstance. People have lives outside of school, and I totally get it. So that really keeps the kids there.
It does, and it keeps it moving. Like we have band, we do orchestra, band, chorus. So the orchestra stands on the risers for their performance. And while they're performing, the band is already seated on stage. It's good and bad. There's some mouthpiece drops and some stick drops and some, and I do what I can to prepare them for that moment that I could tell them they really don't want to be a part of that moment. And we talk it through. It's like, but the orchestra exits, the band's ready to go. And then the big transition is between band and chorus. Cause like I said, most of them, need to put their instruments away and then go line up with the chorus. But having that multiple performance space, even within the same space, right? But just having 2 different spots, keeping a bunch of kids sitting or standing, or just keeping them in place, right, while the other group goes, and not having a 10-minute change of scenery every time there's a new group, does help speed things up and keeps kids there. Yeah, my first job, we used to do what you suggested, like having a big finale and everything. It was, you're right. It was a lot, like having the band play with both choruses singing and at the same time. And, huge. We ended up arranging some wacky things that we could sing and play together in the key of B flat. And, it ended up being a lot. So it was either,
Well, yeah. And string and band and chorus keys don't always work nicely together.
No. Luckily we just had band and chorus, but we'd write like a part for the beginners, and then we'd write a part for the middle school band. And then we'd write something for all the choir students to sing. It was a lot, but it kept everybody there. You're right.
Yeah. And one thing also for our listeners, just in case this wasn't clear, at least for my concert, it's just band.
Oh yeah.
Our concert is just 2 jazz bands, 2 concert bands, and done. And so that's one of the reasons that we're able to keep it under an hour or around an hour. It usually goes over if I talk too much at the concert. Oh, don't put your eyebrow up at me. Stop that.
I know. We'll keep an eye on that one. But yeah.
Brendan always jokes with me. He's like, well, our concert would be 50 minutes if you just stopped talking.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, we try and keep it short and sweet too. Like, 3 pieces for each like band, orchestra, chorus. And then when the 4th graders are doing their own thing, that's when it ends up being an hour and 15. Like this winter concert will probably push a little past an hour because I'll have like I said, each lesson group do their thing. So,
well, Jen,
this is nice.
It's so nice to catch up and
yeah,
it's funny for our listeners. They probably don't know that you and I put this in our PDPs this year, our professional development plans. Because I know I've been talking to my administrators for years about, they always ask, well, what do you want to do better? Like, what do you want to grow? What needs to be better? At a certain point, you're like, okay, have you ever seen that pie chart of like all the responsibilities of a band director? And it's like that little sliver is like like actually rehearsing music.
Right.
And I was like, and my problem is my sliver for self-reflection is even smaller.
Sure. Yeah.
So I've talked about this with my administrators and be like, what I really want to work on is just actually having the time to sit and think about how I'm teaching and not just all the other stuff and not like, what am I teaching today, but how am I teaching? And I think that this podcast is a lot of fun for me because it's like a chance for us every month to just sit and bounce ideas off each other and kind of go over how we're thinking and yeah.
And like where our groups really are, I have to be really real with myself. I was having that thought this afternoon, like, where did my students progress since the last time we talked, and like not being in front of them, and like having them experience band day without me being there and figuring out how to, like, that was a thing for us this month. I really wanted to, we document like where we are. So yeah. And I think that's another thing that makes this podcast, I hope, useful and valuable for our listeners, is that while we are really fortunate to be in the program that we're in, and we have a lot of great things going for us, I still feel like our program is pretty real. Yeah. And the things that we deal with and work with are things that a lot of directors probably also deal with and work with. There's great parts and there's parts that are, need work, and our bands are real bands, real kids, we're dealing with the real issues that a lot of band directors deal with. So, well, Erik, happy holidays. Happy New Year. The next time we talk to you all, it'll be 2023. So that's right. That's crazy. That's pretty cool. Don't forget, it would be a great Christmas present to us is if you subscribed to our podcast on your favorite podcast app and, give us a rating and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Tell other people about us who need to hear us. Spread the word, share our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Get the word out there. And if you're feeling, extra generous this holiday season and you want to consider becoming a monthly supporter, check out the link in our show notes. You can sign up there. Yeah. And if you have ideas for other episodes, please get in touch. Let us know your thoughts. Definitely. We have a long list, but it is finite. And we've heard from some of you this month, and we're going to make some of those things happen. So thank you. Keep chiming in on social media and connecting with us. So, well, go out there and make great kids and make some great music in the process too. Happy New Year, everybody.